All right, it's JPEG to Raw, show number 209. I'm about to say 29, Tim. 209. Tonight it is Mike Howard, me, and Tim Kimberly coming in from Snowmageddon up there in New York area, right, Tim?
Yes, up in Long Island. We're getting hit with another 8 to 15 inches tomorrow.
That's awful. Nice and getting warm down here. Nice weather after a storm last night. But before we get into a few articles tonight, I want to give you an update on Lightroom. Remember a few shows back we talked about Lightroom. There was an update to it that added some speed. One of the issues I had, I don't know if you had this, Tim, but one of the issues I had, and I have a fast computer that I do my editing on, all SSD, 64 gig of RAM, i7 6-core, 12-core hyperthreaded, just fast. It's fast. As I edited, so when I went into the develop module and I was editing a shoot, let's say I shot a basketball game and there was 700 photos, although I'd usually call that down to 100 to 300. As I'm going through those, it would get slower and slower to a point and then just be slow. It wouldn't continue to get slower and slower to the point where it wasn't moving, but it would degrade over time.
Right.
There goes that computer starting to have trouble, I bet you. But with this update, they claim to have fixed that. They claim to add some other speed improvements and help some other things out. So I tried it the other day, editing a photo shoot, went through 150 photos, doing the editing, and did not notice any slowdown whatsoever. Before, the only fix for me was to close out Lightroom and restart it, and then the speed would be back. And then after a while, it would go away again, and I'd close it and come back, and I would have to do this multiple times
in one shoot.
Let's say if I'm editing 300 photos, during that 300 photo shoot, I might have to 3 or 4 times close and come back. I think some of these problems were exaggerated with. It's almost the faster computer you got, the more cores you had, the more problems you had. It was. My understanding was Lightroom was designed more for a 4-core CPU, and the faster ones with the multi-cores caused problems. So I had to continually do that. I did not have to do that at all this time. It worked just great. So that is very positive. It made the editing process much nicer and faster too, because what I would do generally, because I didn't want to have to close and come back, is I would tolerate the slowness for a while.
Right.
And they're teasing me about records. I only 208 shows, and I've only done it once where I didn't record. I have started recording.
And you're still suffering for it now.
Yes, I am still suffering.
Well, I think I uploaded pictures. Was it last weekend? And I did notice it was definitely fit. Now, I didn't upload a lot of pictures and go through a lot, but I definitely noticed a change in the speed of the pictures going through. So I hope, that was probably the biggest thing, or when it did facial recognition, I would always get up and just walk away.
Yeah.
Let it do its stuff. All
right. So tonight we have a few articles to go over, and I would like to go over your first one here, Tim, with the 2 images taken within milliseconds.
Okay.
Hey, SP is out there in chat on YouTube because he's banned from Facebook. So just to respond to that, yes, so 208 shows, and I forgot to record one that I'm awful. I just hate that. But all right, so Tim, you had an article here about these 2 photos taken within milliseconds of each other.
Correct. And the one guy, Ron Reisman, I think it was Ron's picture originally, he took the picture, went back home, edited the picture, put it up on the internet, and he was getting a lot of great comments. And ultimately, people started questioning him, saying, no, you copied this picture from somebody else. And he found the picture that somebody else was talking about. And as you could see, the comparison of the 2 photos, other than probably some editing to the picture, it's an identical picture, one to the other. However, through some investigation from other people as well as himself, he wound up determining, and if you went further down the article, it showed that the pictures, while taken exactly the same time. Now, if you think of it, there are a lot of pictures that could be taken very close to the time frame, but this one with the waves that are crashing off of the lighthouse and the spray of the waves, it looks absolutely identical. But he actually did wind up reaching out to the other photographer, Eric Gendon, and determined they were exactly in the same location, however, slightly off axis. And one of the pictures, somebody noticed that the railing to the top of the lighthouse was slightly off-centered, so it was obviously to a different angle. However, they took the picture exactly the same time. And if you think of it, what are the chances of that actually happening? I think Ron was under a tree and Eric was inside the lighthouse building on the other side of the bluff, which is an amazing idea. And then to think not only was the same picture taken, they were both uploaded and people recognized the same pictures. Because, I mean, yeah, that's probably happened. People take the same picture and you don't notice it for years, if ever. So I thought this was very interesting, and that people caught it and brought it out to Ron, and then he went the extra step to find the person and then realize where the two of them were located. But very interesting, and I love the picture. I'd seen this picture. Mike and I talked beforehand of this on a motivational picture, and there was actually a person in the picture when the wave hits this. And to me, that would make me sick. And it's at the bottom door of the lighthouse. There's a guy standing there with these waves crashing against it. You wouldn't have thought it was a real picture, but it's actually it is a real waves that are hitting this lighthouse. Obviously well built.
And we may be able to show this again at some point in time because that computer crashed again.
I was wondering what happened.
Yeah, that's what's happening as you continue talking. You know, there's so often that you find somebody who has copied somebody else's photo and is passing it on as their own, or not giving credit at all to the other person. You know, basically you've stolen it. We've gone over that so many times where someone has stolen it. So that I could see that would be the first response if someone says there is no way you actually both took this photo at the same time, you know, that close. Because you're right, it has to be within milliseconds of each other, half a second apart, and it is totally different. So, you know, the natural inclination would be to believe that it was stolen.
And, you know, I always talk about it. And I tried this years ago when my son was playing baseball, and people have said it's very hard to get a picture of the ball contacting the bat. And I would take pictures at 12 frames a second with my camera, and I could not get it even with that. And you think about that. Yeah. 12 frames a second, what you would think somewhere in there, you're going to get that picture and it's not capturing it.
You know, in 12 frames a second helps, but it also has something to do with the timing on that. And I have not perfected it. I can tell you that I'm still working on that, but you know, as you do it more and more, you can get closer to it. Getting that, but you even, you know, 12 frames a second. I think mine's 10 frames a second. Before that, I had one that was 8 frames a second. You kind of have to get to know your camera, and even from batter to batter can be different on the timing of them swinging and all that kind of stuff. It is an art with a little bit of science.
Because you see the pictures in a newspaper, so that they're obviously doing it.
Yeah, well, they're probably firing off the 12 frames a second for every batter that comes up.
Every swing.
Every swing, and hoping that they get one. All right, I think we got it back up. Let's hope this holds up.
So now if you scroll all the way to the bottom of the article, it shows where the two photographers ultimately figured out where they were. Ron was under the tree while Eric was under the building there. And they wound up getting this exact same picture.
So where's the lighthouse in this?
It's out to the far right. So you see the rocks to the right? Okay. So they're shooting out to the right of this.
Okay.
Now, if you scroll down, I think a little bit further, this is how they identified that the pictures were actually different. Computer lock up on you again?
No.
Scroll down a little bit.
Oh, it's something else is happening then. So let's go back to us here in a second. And we got Stargate Pioneer, who is one of the guys from betterpodcasting.com, or the Better Podcasting podcast, and also from Gonna Geek. And I don't know how often he makes our show, but the one time he does, I'm having all kind of problems. All right, now we're back to that shot.
So here's the picture where they zoomed in on the top of the lighthouse, and you can see that railing is just slightly different. The space between the two railings is slightly different, which shows that it wasn't right. I mean, that's how
different angles.
They determined it, that the angle wasn't exactly the same.
Yeah. It shows that there's different angles, and
there's more light between, and nobody's going to copy the picture and clone and change the railing like that. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So I thought that was very interesting. Yeah.
All right. Let's see if I can one up you on that one. If this is,
like I said, this is milliseconds. Sometimes it's years apart.
All right. So yours was milliseconds apart. Mine was same time, but not discovered for years. So this over in China, I'm not even going to try and pronounce the names of these cities, but the girl was visiting a city, and I believe it was a travel. She had to travel to this city. Both of these cities that they lived in and that they traveled to in this shot are, what's happening there? Are thousands. I think there are millions of people in them, but like 1,000 miles apart. Mm-hmm. And this was taken where she was visiting, I think a mother or something like that who was having some surgery or something. She went to visit her mother. I think her mother went to visit her mother in this city while she was having surgery. And the guy standing behind her, his mother was going to go to this city as a tour, but he wasn't able to make it. She wasn't able to make it, so she gave the ticket to him, and he went instead. And they take this photo you can see of her with him in the background, and there's one on the right is him. And then 11 years later, they meet in their home city of 4 million people, or however many it is. They meet in their home city, fall in love, get married. And years after that, I think actually just recently, he's going through her photos, and all of a sudden recognizes in her photo a picture of him in the background. And he recognized the person in the background because that was like his standard pose that he did for
It's his stance.
That's his stance. So imagine that you were just happened to be in the same area at the same time, both posing for pictures. Years later, you meet each other, fall in love, get married, and just flipping through the photos and by happenstance find it.
And I think what was the interesting part was he wound up finding the picture that was taken of him from the other angle as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that I mean, you think about it, what's the chances you're going to find it? Yeah, all right, you recognize yourself, and then now you got to go say, wait a second, I know I have that picture somewhere, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
So from milliseconds to same time, but broken apart, found years later, 11 years later. Yeah, and then they got married, no less.
Then they got married,
I guess that was fate.
That was fate. That is incredible. You wonder how often you and your spouse, or you and your significant other, have come across each other in the past and never really met. So, I've been married to my wife for a while. You've been married to yours for a while. But even, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever it is, how many times have you run into each other in the past that you didn't even know it?
And I agree, as is being pointed out in chat now, that you're going to see more and more of this as more and more people have cell phone. You think of it 10, 15 years ago, people didn't always take pictures. Now people are taking pictures all the time, all the time. So you're going to see this type of things where it's what's in the background that you're not going to realize until later on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's still neat to me. I know AD is saying that there's, like you said, Tim, this is going to happen more often. It's not as unique as it used to be. It's still unique to me, even if this is the third story of this kind. It's still, something that it doesn't happen all that often. All right, enough of the good news stories. Oh, this isn't totally bad. You had a story, Tim, about let's see if I can find this. Well, let's go to another. No, let's go to yours.
Okay, which one?
This is the ducklings.
Oh, yes.
And this is a guy in Georgia. Now, it could be a guy anywhere. It doesn't have to be Georgia, but he happens to be here in Georgia.
Yes, and at first I say to myself, now this is a picture of a photographer who for years had been taking pictures of toddlers with live animals
Yeah.
and using live ducklings and bunnies. However, people now have seen what he's doing and are very disturbed by it, and sadly giving death threats, which I think is well beyond. However, when you look at the pictures, especially this little girl in pink here, she's holding the duckling by the head.
Yeah.
Now, he's been doing these pictures for, I think, several decades. Actually, I think it said 30 years in here.
He's been on 30 years. I think he added the live animals about 10 years ago.
Yeah, 10 years ago, right. He's been taking them for 30 years and 10 years. And I wonder, it doesn't mention, did any of these animals ever get seriously injured or killed? I mean, you see the girl picking up and a toddler, that's
yeah.
At first I was all for him taking the pictures. Then I go back and forth and I say, you know what? I don't know if I agree with this.
Let me give the more of the story, because I read this story, and let me give you more of the story. And then we can debate a little bit on whether he should be doing it anyway. So he claims that none of the animals have been seriously hurt or killed. None have been killed.
Right.
None have been seriously hurt.
But I wonder.
he claims on the bunnies, at least, not the bunnies, I'm sorry, the ducks.
The ducklings.
That the ducks are ones that were going to be shipped off to a place where they, process them. I don't know if they process them as ducklings. I think they let them grow and then they, process them for meat later on. So he claims he's buying these ducks for the shoot, the ducklings for the shoot, and then afterwards he donates them or gives them to a family who's going to keep it as a pet.
Mm-hmm. And
so a duck that would have been processed for food is now living life as a pet. That's what he claims.
Right.
So in that, and he at the sight of the thought of none of them have been harmed permanently or killed, he's saying, what is going, y'all are overblowing this. It's way out of proportion, and I'm not killing these animals. And there's one shot, you're not going to be able to see it very well here, but there's a shot where this girl throws the duck, or drops the duck. Let's see if I can find it. Drops the duck into the water, and you can't see it in this shot. But the first one, the top one, you can see where she's dropping it. But in the second one, they don't give you a zoomed in look, I don't think. Yeah. But the duck kind of goes under the water, and they're saying that, that duck is dead. And if you ever watch baby ducklings like this, they love to dive under the water and do all that kind of stuff. And he claims the duck was not killed, and that the duck was just fine. And like you said, he has been getting death threats. He got people who told him they hope he gets cancer. They're going to come to his house and cut his daughter's throat. People have called up his work, where he works, and threatened his secretary. They're going to come and beat her up. That is, whether you agree with him or not on what he's doing. If you are upset about a duckling's life, you shouldn't be countering that with, I'm going to come and slit your daughter's throat.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
It's fine to be, pro-life for everything. I want this duck to live and I want your daughter to live, that not want to kill any of those things. But if you think that balances that out, I'm going to come kill your daughter because you harmed this duck. That said, I will say this, is that he also says that right outside of the shot, and we may be about to crash again, so I'm going to flip back to us. He claims that right outside the shot, there is adults who are ready to take the rabbit or the duck right out of the person's hand, the child's hand, because there's a case where one of the children is grabbing a rabbit by the ear, and they say they stop that right away because you don't know what's in millimeter outside the frame. You only see what's in the frame. That said, especially a duckling, those ducklings are so fragile that a baby could in an instant, no matter how close you are, snap its neck, crush its head. They don't understand. A kid that old has no understanding.
Or just throw it across the room at a wall.
Yeah, has no understanding of life. They have no understanding of life, and they could in an instant kill or maim this thing. The rabbit's a little bit bigger and a little bit more durable, but this one girl on the right, she could squeeze on its stomach and hurt that thing right away. And there's a lot going on in the chat room. I can't read all of that.
Never read the comments in the.
Yeah, there are a lot of comments on this post, over 6,000 comments, and some of them are not nice. it doesn't, you know, make sense to threaten people like that.
Not at all.
I understand not being happy with this, and hopefully, what this guy is going to do is going to continue to do this, just not post these photos. I think you should reevaluate whether doing this in the first place is a good idea. In fact, you've gone 10 years without hurting the animal, or as far as we know, is maybe more luck.
Right.
Yeah. Because you might have people right outside.
If you had an 8-year-old holding it, yeah, maybe I could understand. Even my daughter at 5 or just nearly 6, I could see maybe, but and even that I would think is questionable. But this toddler looks 2, 3 years old. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
not for me.
Yeah, no. I agree. Not for a young child like this. I understand how cute it is and all that kind of stuff, but it doesn't have to be. Just a still picture. You're taking a still picture at the end, right?
Absolutely.
These are photos. This isn't video, so you don't necessarily need a live one. Sooner you do this long enough, sooner or later, one of them is
something's going to happen.
Yeah, something's going to happen. All right, let's move on to a more happy article, or maybe not happy, but just another article. Let's go to a different article.
Yeah, right. Looking at the ones that we have to choose from, some of them are not really happy.
No, we're not going to do. So there was one I wanted to talk about, is the helicopter crash. And really what's cool, I'm not even going to show that one, but we all heard about the New York City helicopter crash with the five photographers. And it's just an awful story if you read about it, where, they'd gone up for, I think it was just a 10-minute flight.
Yeah, it was a short flight. They're going to be up
10-minute flight.
And they had just taken off.
And the last I heard, I don't know if this was confirmed, it might have been one of the photographer's bags that hit an emergency shut-off valve.
Actually, I think it was the harness actually got caught on the shut-off valve. And by the time this is what the pilot said. By the time he realized it was too late and the engine wouldn't restart.
And if you see the crash, and on the article, there's a video of the crash. If you see the crash, you go, why didn't everybody survive? The pilot did. The pilot survived. Why did he survive and nobody else? Unfortunately, in this case, the photographers you're almost hanging out of the thing, because you're going up for a photo shoot in these helicopters. And you're like on the edge, and they strap you in really good, so there's no way you're going to fall out. Problem with that is, if you land in water, there's no way you're getting out. And so you survived most likely the crash, but you couldn't get out of your harness.
Right, and also the helicopter had flipped over, so now you're disoriented.
Yeah.
The water was cold, and they said part of this is recently a lot of these helicopter tours are offering open cockpit helicopter tours. So that's the reason now these harnesses are so much stronger on them, and they don't know how to exactly take it off. And then to top it off, the flotation devices that were supposed to automatically inflate didn't inflate. So there was a whole lot of things that went wrong. And I don't want to say taking chances by having these open door helicopter tours, but I mean, I'm sure all these companies are like, they got to one up the next one. So, and it wasn't that warm of a day. I remember, because it was last week when I was home when that happened. So it's.
Yeah. Well, I can't show it now, but I was going to show that article, at least the top part of it, because at the top, and because they serve different ads every time you load the page, that ad's gone now. But at the top of the page on there on Petapixel, and maybe in other places, was a Fujifilm, was it X-T2 or something like that, camera with the person in the ad was Karen Hutton. All right. Former guest of the show and well-known photographer, is now in an ad for Fujifilm.
Wow.
Awesome. All right. Next article up. If SP is still out there, Stargate Pioneer is still out there. He'll enjoy this one because it's about NASA. Because I've heard he's like the head of SNASA. It's a related thing to NASA. SNASA. He's the head of SNASA. But anyway, this one is NASA wants your cloud photos. Did you see that, Tim?
I downloaded the app a little while ago.
So basically, they've got an app, and I think between now and
April 15th, was it? Or
April 15th, something like that?
Yeah, April
April
15th.
15th, tax day. That's unusual. Why they want April 15th? Come on, pick another date.
Yeah.
He's NASA director, the Stargate Pioneer. They want your photos between now and April 15th. You got to download their app, and I think it's called Globe Observer app or something like that for iOS
Yes,
and
Globe
Android.
Observer app.
And you take photos of the clouds, and it submits them through the app. You use the app to take the photos. And what they're doing is they have their satellites. If SP was here, he could do a better job of explaining this for me. But when they're looking down at their satellites, they can't always tell what's happening, especially if you have clouds that are over top snow-covered land, and they're trying to figure out better ways to interpret that data. And they're going to now use the photos you take with your cell phone through this app to match up to their satellite images and help them better understand what they're reading.
It's the Batman trick, but voluntary. No, I actually like the idea of this,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna. I downloaded it.
Enter some?
I'm gonna enter some, and you know, I like NASA anyway. So I was down Cape Canaveral a couple of years ago, and well, I got lucky. I got to see 2 rockets take off, and you know, this is great. This really is great.
So not only do you feel kind of, is it kind of fun to be contributing to something like this, but also I think that the person who submits the most, what did they say that? The person who submits the
they're
most
going to get
win the prize.
mentioned out on their their video.
Yeah.
Congratulating the video on the Globe website through social media.
The people, actually they say the people who submit the most. So it's not just going to be one person, but the people who submit the most will be mentioned through their website. Yep. So it makes it kind of fun. Hopefully, I haven't downloaded the app yet, but does it give you any kind of count so you know like where you're running?
I don't know. I downloaded it from here to my phone, which is upstairs, so I didn't even look at it yet. So it'll be on there when I get upstairs.
Because it'd be nice to know, like I'm in 7th place, I got to do more, or I'm in 17,000th place.
That would be me. Yes.
Yeah, out there just snapping away. You know, they probably don't want 7,000 photos from your front door. They want them, you know, a wider swath of that.
Right. Well, and of different, they just want different clouds, I would think, as well, because they're trying to identify what type of cloud it is as well, because they can't see always from up above looking down. So, I think that at the same time, they're looking to verify the GPS systems working correctly.
Okay.
So,
I didn't see that part about the GPS.
Yeah, I think that was mentioned early on in the article.
Huh. Interesting. So they're using your photo, and I guess it's GPS it's tagged from the app.
Yeah.
They're using that with their satellite. I thought those things
and you
were
got to
like,
think that you got to think they actually need that, because otherwise, how are they going to identify what cloud you're taking pictures of?
Right,
So
right.
it's got to
they got to have
have
that.
this coordinate.
But I would think that, I guess those satellites that are taking the imaging are getting their GPS coordinates from other things. I don't know how that's working.
I don't know how that
they
works.
need a photo from the ground to calibrate their GPS. I don't know. That's weird. That's over my head.
Yes.
All right.
Get back to your Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, if I can't calculate in Excel, maybe these NASA guys could. I couldn't calculate that in Excel, but maybe they could. If I can calculate in Excel, I can figure it out. All right. Here's an article that fits with our monthly photo contest, Tim. Before we go over this one, now that I brought it up, let's go over, because I think Jan, if AD's out there, Jan is saying she's going to enter this month, AD. If you want to enter the JPEG to RAW photo contest that we have every month, this month we actually have a theme in both of our groups, both the regular group and in the beginner group. The theme for the beginner group is outdoor, so anything you consider outdoor. And the theme for the regular group is called Dream. So you can enter through our Facebook page, either our Facebook group, either the beginner or the regular, or right here from our website, which is jpegtoraw.com/contest. Go there and submit it, and there's also links down below to the actual groups too. So with this, you don't win any prizes during the year. All you get is mention on our website and your photo at the top of our Facebook page, our Facebook group, I should say. And I generally do a post on the page too. Good news is you don't owe me any money, right, Tim?
Correct.
You have to pay us. You have to give us.
I mean, if they want to send it to you, that's okay.
If you want to, like we did turn on Super Chat here for YouTube. If you want to donate, you're welcome to donate. Eventually, AD's on me to get Patreon going, and that's something I'm looking at. We might do something like that, but right now we're not doing any of that. This is a hobby for Tim and I, but we're not going to charge you to enter our photo contest. All you got to do is you agree basically to letting us use it in some of our posts, especially about the contest itself, and do that kind of stuff. And we get photo credit. So if you're willing to do that. Now, there are some contests that actually charge you if you win. Did you see that, Tim?
On their cover.
On their cover. So
that's crazy. And I think part of the problem is I've never heard of this magazine, Sheba magazine.
Shiva magazine. So you enter. This is a fashion magazine, and I'm not. Look, I'm wearing my workout clothes because I'm going to go work out as soon as we're done here. And when I'm not in these, I'm not in any fashionable clothes then either. So I'm not into fashion. But this is a fashion magazine, so it could be very popular. It may not be. I checked, and I don't think it has a lot of Instagram followers, and wherever else I checked, didn't have a lot. I would expect a brand of any significance, let's say, Time Magazine or USA Today, they would have hundreds of thousands or millions of followers.
Mm-hmm.
This one is much smaller than that. So what you're doing is you're submitting your photo to their. Basically, you're submitting the photo to a contest. The winner gets to go on to the cover of their magazine for that month. But if you win, you have to pay them $430 to be on the cover. Now, I imagine if you're somebody trying to, get your name out there, and you could get on the cover of a magazine, and they put your name on the cover, you may look at this as, well, this is just $430 worth of advertising for me.
Right. Yes. I mean, yeah, absolutely.
So that is a way to look at it. Is if you're entering this, you're doing it knowing that you are going to have to pay this if you win, and there's a whole list of stuff here. Obviously, if you're taking pictures of models, you need the model release. They want to give credit to the wardrobe person, to the hairstylist, to the makeup artist, to all that stuff. So you got to submit all those things. So maybe you can
pull your money with all those people for the $430.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. Does the hairstylist? I guess hairstylists may, but does the makeup? Does the wardrobe? Do they get enough credit? They think it might be worth it. A photographer.
If they're going to get their name in there, yeah.
When I first read it, I was like, "This is insane. Who would pay $430 to win a contest?" But if you look at it from the advertising standpoint,
right, depends what you're trying to do with it.
So then the question becomes: is this magazine big enough that it's worth $430 to put my name on it? Oh, just so you know, $430 is a 50% discount because they have the normal price is $860, and right now you can get it for 50% at $430.
Just trying to see what the of a high-end creative fashion and experimental editorial photography, available in paper and digital versions.
You'd want to know what the circulation is.
That's what I'm trying to find out. It doesn't say it.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Because it may be worth it to some kind of some fashion photographer if there's a big enough distribution. Not something I would do. For the hobbyist who wants to enter contests because they enjoy, I did my local one here for a number of years. I enjoyed entering contests and seeing if I could win or at least place or do something like that, and I enjoyed that process. And I later when you saw your photo, you can't see it here, but I got the city hall had the brochure they hand out that's got. I don't know how to describe this, but it's basically a book where you can put like papers in the inside. It's got the things fold up in the middle, and it closes. You open it up, and you can put papers inside of it. Well, the photo going all the way across the bottom is my photo, and that's from one of the contests I entered. And so, as entered in a contest, one of the rights I gave away was allowing the city to use the photo for their promotional purposes, and I was fine with that. It wasn't until I started finding a photo hanging in Walmart
right.
on other people's web pages that I said, I'm out. I'm not going to do that anymore. But I would have never paid money to do that because of who I am and I'm not in it to make a living.
Right.
All right. Well, looks like for now the computer's held up after one crash, and
But that's not good.
no, that is. I think that's just all the stories I wanted to go over tonight. We had a few others, but I think those are the main ones that are out there. I want to mention that this Sunday we've done them back to back. This Sunday we're going to do another photo review show. We finally got through the 2017 images, Tim, AD, and I, because we did the best of 2017. We did 3 shows on the best of 2017 shows. The 6 finalists, the beginner images, and then the ones from the regular group. So now we're finally moving into January. We'll do it this Sunday. Instead of at 7, which is our usual time, we're for now going to move them to 8 o'clock at night on Sunday. And then at some point we have to take a break because AD is going to go on, he's going to be moving. So come out Sunday, watch that. I'll be, of course, putting it on Facebook and on YouTube, so you can come out and watch us. And Jan, we'd love to have you enter the photo contest. Don't be overly, you've seen AD critique. He is nice about it. He gives great constructive feedback. And I know that, sometimes you're nervous about other people reviewing your images and what they're going to say about them. But some of that is how you get better. And that's what this is all about, is how do you improve you? Like we were saying in the first part of the show, you're not competing against Tim or me or AD or any of the other photographers. You're competing against you. And as long as you're improving at whatever pace you're improving at, don't worry about your pace versus somebody else's. Whatever pace you're improving at, then it's working. I know the big problem for me, Tim, and maybe for you too, is I'm not shooting enough. So I'm kind of stagnant right now. I'm kind of stagnating. But don't worry about it, Jan. Just enter and pull the Band-Aid off. We'll be
quickly.
I am sure if this is your first time entering, unless you tell me, Mike, do not do it, we will include it in the review. Since this is a March one, will take us a few weeks or a while to get to that image because we got to go through the others. But we'd love to have you enter, and anyone else, we'd love to have y'all enter too. Each month, join either one of our Facebook groups. We have the beginner group, the regular group. You're welcome to join either one. The beginner group is mainly just for people who feel that they're beginners and they want a safer place with other beginners, but you can join either group. If we also have a sports group and a boudoir group that aren't as active, but they're there. If you want to come out and post either one of those, we'd love to have you in those too. Just go to Facebook and search for JPEG to RAW and you'll find all those groups. Right, Tim?
Absolutely. Plenty out there.
And you still have, 11 days to enter for March before we head on to April, and we'll start a whole new contest. So if you can't make March, come and join us in April or whatever month. We've been doing this now for, gosh, Tim, it's getting close to 100 months now that we've been doing this.
I was going to say.
Yeah, I know last time I looked, we were close to 80s, and that was a while back. So we've got to be getting close to 100. We'll be celebrating 7 years this June.
Is it 7 years already?
This June we'll be celebrating 7 years. Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah. So if you came in late, if you had to leave early, you won't get it. But if you came in late and
no, you won't.
came in late, we'd love to have you come over and subscribe to the show. There's lots of places to subscribe to the show. You can come over to iTunes, get the audio version, the video version. If you're interested in the audio version, which is outside of YouTube, is still the most popular on audio, it's iTunes, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, TuneIn, and then, of course, you can just use an RSS feed. Video, we have iTunes. We have 2 versions, small and large, but I think it's 1080p and 360p or something like that. And then YouTube and Vimeo, you can get it from either one of those places. So we'd love to have you subscribe. And also now, it's not up there, I need to put it, on Podbean. And I've mentioned Podbean in the last few shows there. The way I'm posting on Podbean, they're a little behind us, or a lot behind us. I think we just posted 198 over there. But every Sunday morning, a new one comes out until catch it up. So I think, Tim, I have those posts going all the way through the end of June, something like that. So those guys are going to be getting a new one every week. So at some point you'll catch up and hear me saying this, but we welcome all those Podbean listeners and viewers, because we have both audio and video over there. And there's that group is growing quite a bit over on Podbean. So we welcome you guys and love to have you come out and watch a live show. We're here live most Tuesdays at 8:30 Eastern. And if you're not sure if this is going to be a Tuesday, if you go to jpderaw.com/live, at the top of the page, I do post the date on when the next show is going to be. So right now it says Tuesday, March 20th. Also, I generally, a few days before or more, put it on YouTube and on Facebook. So we'd love to have you come and join us over there live or recorded. And if you want to contact Tim or I, you can send us an email at podcast@jpderaw.com. And if it's Tim, I will send it on and forward it to Tim. But that is the email address for the website. Also, up here, let me go back to this. I haven't mentioned this in a while, but I think this is going to be the year, Tim. I'm going to do a newsletter. What?
Oh, I thought you were talking about the forum. I thought you were talking about the forums.
Not going to talk about the forums because I pushed that for years and I could not get hardly anybody to go and do anything over there. So I've given up on the forums. But we do have a lot of people who signed up for the newsletter. And like I told you, I would never spam you. And I've been so good about not spamming you, I have never sent you a single thing.
You haven't received a thing.
You have not received a thing. But this year, I'm going to try and send something out at least once. And I think maybe once I get going, I'll get a roll going. So if you haven't subscribed to the newsletter, go to just about any page on the website, and on the right-hand side is the sign up. It's really easy. Go out there and sign up, and maybe someday you'll receive something. All right. With that said, we're going to go and head out and go into the post show. Thank you guys for coming out. Jan, Stargate, AD, and I know there were some other people on Facebook I missed. Roger. I can't scroll further. There were some other people out there. Thank you guys for coming out. We'll see you in the post show. Good night, everybody.
Night.
Keep it raw. Forgot my closing statement.